Okay, hi everyone. We have gathered here today a bunch of awesome women from the Wikimedia movement together to discuss a Wiki MOOC. There are a few initiatives around the world, and today is all about, first of all, documenting what is already happening and also discuss what can be done together. So let's start by introducing ourselves, maybe. Um, Melina, it was a big day for you. Do you want to begin?
Okay. Okay. Hello. I just work only just a year and a half, and for us was very important made an MOOC because we can stay in many places in and with many actors like universities and education portals. And today I update all this information in the link that Flora shared us about our experience and how we design it, all these kind of things. And I'm quite sure this is the key for so many things, because our educators, if they know some about digital world, it's very easy for them be part of Wikimedia. It's the next step and the next challenge to know about free culture. And this is very, very important here because nobody knows about, this kind of things, Creative Commons, or work in a place that, with Paola have all her experience about pedagogy. I think it's very important the collaborative way to create this way to know about Wikimedia and how we offer is very important in our places, in our schools, universities, and all this kind of project.
So this sounds great, and we definitely want to hear a bit about the details later. But before we do that, can you tell everyone where you're from? I think that was kind of lost.
Okay, I'm from Argentina. This is the South America, and we are between Chile and Brazil and Uruguay. For example, Roxana is one of our partners, and in Argentina we have many education politicians about, model 1 by 1 or 1 laptop per child. And we have many problems about connectivity, but we have all the devices. And so our challenge is how to explain this, and let's work together with the schools and the government.
Okay, thanks so much for giving us this, I think, history about where you're coming from. I think it's going to be helpful later on. Paola, let's continue with you. You can introduce yourself, where you're from, and what you're doing generally in the Wikimedia movement.
Hi, I'm Paola. I am originally from Ecuador, but I live in Mexico. So, well, now I'm Mexican too. So I'm Mexican, Ecuadorian Mexican. And I am a teacher and a researcher at a private university in Mexico. It's one of the biggest universities in Mexico. It's called Tecnológico de Monterrey, or Tec de Monterrey. We have about 90,000 students all over Mexico, so it's a huge university. And I'm interested in education in general, so that's why I collaborate with the Wikipedia movement, trying to promote the knowledge creation or knowledge production in Spanish. And in talking about MOOCs, here in Mexico, only 2 universities, for example, have this experience participating in Coursera. They offer courses, I think it's already 2 years from now. They are offering courses in Spanish about different topics, but 2 of them are education, innovation, and also technology and curriculum, I think. So these 2 universities are UNAM, which is the public university, the biggest university in Mexico, the most important university in Mexico, and also Tec de Monterrey, which is the private university. So I think that maybe if we have this idea of creating MOOCs and making these alliances with universities, this would be a great opportunity, because I think, for example, the tech would be a great ally for this initiative. So that's it.
Sounds great, and I am moving to Sara. Sara, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks, Shani. Now I'm unmuted. My name is Sara Mortsell. I am education manager at Wikimedia Sweden, the Swedish chapter of Wikimedia. And my background is in education, where I've worked as a teacher, and I've done stuff with, ICT in education kind of thing. It was what I did at my school. And I have now been with this chapter for about 2 years, and I'm the program leader of the Wikipedia education program here. And if we're going to talk about MOOC specifically, I did run a MOOC in, what's it now, 3 years ago, so just before I came to work here, and we had this MOOC. We were lucky, it was a completely non-profit initiative, and we did it on our spare time, and we got about 1,500 educators to join. It was great fun, and lots of different topics, very connectivistic kind of MOOC, so very distributed kind of thing. It was a great experience. I learned a lot about MOOCs from running it, and since then I have been sort of in touch with the universities here in Sweden, where I think now there are about 4 universities who run MOOCs themselves, and seeing how that's going. It's sort of that kind of Coursera type MOOCs, and I'd be really interested to see how we could do something connecting sort of the Wikimedia movement with massive online courses. I think I love this. Someone said massive open online collaboration is another way to understand the MOOC, what MOOC stands for. And if we're talking about massive collaboration, that's Wikimedia movement. It's a massive collaboration, a global effort. So I think we could do lots of interesting stuff about that.
Cool, sounds great. And almost last, Flora, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Flora Koudijs. I work for the Wikimedia Foundation in San Francisco. I run the education team for the Wikimedia Foundation. I'm actually not an expert in MOOCs at all, but I am here as sort of a facilitator, a connector, someone who brings people together, because I do very strongly believe in the power of collaboration and using everybody's individual skill sets to learn together and come up with great things that are really interesting for other people around the world too. Yes, I'm a matchmaker, Shani. I'm glad you're seeing that. So I am here mostly to listen and see what kind of support I would be able to give, or my team would be able to give. Traditionally, we have not been doing very much in MOOCs because the traditional Wikipedia education program is not MOOC based, but that doesn't mean that we're not interested. We just haven't had much bandwidth to do much with it. And that's why I'm very excited about this conversation and really looking forward to the great things that we'll come up with.
Sounds very good. I think we all are, as Paola just wrote here on the chat, we all believe in the power of collaboration. So yeah, we've all been looking forward to this talk, and let me just introduce myself as well. So I'm Shani Evenstein, and I'm from Wikimedia Israel. I'm an educator and a volunteer. I ran 2 courses at Tel Aviv University where students get credit for editing, for learning about Wikipedia and its sister projects, and basically donate or create high quality content as part of their undergraduate studies. For me, MOOCs is all about scaling what it is that I'm already doing. So I'm quite excited about working with all of you to try to come up with a model and making sure that we're not all of us working separately in different parts of the world and collaborating instead. So this is why we're here for, I think. So that said, after we know each other and introduced ourselves to everyone who's going to listen to us later, I think we need to get into details a bit. So for now, I suggest, I think that Melina and Sara, you two actually already have done MOOCs. So it would be good for you to describe a bit how you went about it, what was the target audience. I think both of you talked, which was really interesting, both of you talked about MOOC for educators, for other educators learning about Wikimedia, not necessarily for students. So maybe thinking about the different kinds of audiences that we aim for, and how, and if at all there is just one MOOC that we're talking about, or maybe others, maybe a few types. So how about we start with some details? Who wants to begin? Melina, Sara?
I can just comment briefly. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
The MOOC I did had educators as the prime audience, and also it was off wiki, as we would say. So it was sort of done online on various platforms and blogs and places. And I think one aspect of this is to consider what's the word I'm looking for? How easy is it for someone who is new to join in if a MOOC is run on wiki? How user-friendly is that experience if we're talking about sort of bringing in new people into what we're doing? Because I think that could be a challenge, or maybe not. I mean, it would be nice to find something that could apply to someone who's pretty much new to editing wikis or Wikiversity or wherever for that kind of technique. So that's one of the aspects I'm sort of bringing into the conversation. And yeah, that's my comment. I think. Anyone?
So if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is that you're using this platform basically to teach others about the movement in general, not necessarily editing?
Oh, well, the MOOC I did was not focused on Wikimedia. So that was focused on sort of sharing, but sharing in a broader sense. Sharing is caring, that kind of thing. So what I would like to do is, how can I take bits from that experience and put it into this context, into a Wikimedia context, which is why I'm thinking, how user-friendly is that platform for someone who's new. But then again, maybe people would not be the prime audience for that kind of course. I mean, I don't know.
Okay. What platform, by the way, did you use? You mentioned you used a specific platform.
So the MOOC I did was very distributed, so any participant can choose a platform that they liked, enjoyed. It could be in social media, it could be on Wiki, it could be, you know, sharing documents or Hackpad or anything. So we were really trying to encourage someone to develop their own skills in the kind of environments that they were interested in or you know, comfortable in. So it was very different that way.
So what does, I'm sorry if it's not really clear, but what exactly does that mean? Did you create the same course on different platforms and people could choose, or how did it work exactly?
We had sort of weekly assignments, which could be something like, in the beginning you set your own kind of goals for participating. Why do I want to join this MOOC? What kind of skills do I want to develop? And then so you set your own assignments, basically. And then how can I collaborate with others to sort of to learn this thing that I want to know more about? So it was very different. I mean, it would be something completely different to what we're talking about here, but it's
okay.
It was still, I mean, it was quite successful with lots of participants and lots of people learned lots of stuff. So it can be done.
Yes, sounds very promising. So maybe Melina, you can tell us a bit about your experience. And
okay.
And I'm just posting here. I'm sorry. I'm just posting here questions that we can consider while you are talking and thinking about.
Okay. Thank you. The first step was find good partnership because we haven't got an own platform. And in this case, we made a deal with the Latin America, you know, the education portal, and they gave us the platform. It's Moodle. Do you know Moodle?
Yes.
Perfect.
We're also working on Moodle, and our Tel Aviv University also have a few courses in Coursera that are via Moodle. So.
Yes, but the problem with Moodle is not attractive. So one step is this was everything free, but we didn't give any certificate or anything for the teachers or the people who want to do this kind of course. So we have to create many strategies for keep moving. The first step was, okay, open this course. Do you know something about Wikipedia or not? If you want, come here and join us. It was something like that. And we have many teachers, and the profile was teacher who has experience in platform and in this kind of courses, and especially with you know, innovation, what can they do new in the classes. So they have some kind of need to know something new. And this
so what you're saying,
why Wikimedia.
So sorry to interrupt. So what you're saying is actually very important. You're saying you're already targeting for the course in terms of the audience of this MOOC that you created, specific teachers that already have experience in education innovation and are familiar with technology, right?
Yes, or it's something that they have to desire. For example, I don't know. Then when we grow up and this move on, we realize that not all the teachers know everything, but it was very important for us to have this lab. For us was a kind of laboratory of innovation to know what is going to happen with this kind of Wikimedia in our classes. So they have different needs and experience, especially they are teachers, but they are technical teams. We have here, for example, in Uruguay, a profile that they have huge knowledge about technological things, but a few knowledge about education. But they have an important role in the school, and that's why our course, the name is Bridges Among Scholar, Digital and Free Culture, because they are very different in a way, these profiles, teacher or educator or technicians. And the third thing very important is we haven't got I don't know, the real answer or the program finished until the last day that we end. We use this kind of design thinking technique, technique, and for example, we have 8 weeks. It's a lot of time, and the first week they have to take a picture of the near place and put it on Commons and share it. Something very, 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 simple. But we engage them in this kind of, something like gamification. And all the weeks they have one activity. But all the activity wasn't obligatory. If they want to do it, they are going to, want something. And the thing that they want is the recognize of this little and big community, in a way. That's why we finished this publication, this digital publication that today I share with us, because the important thing was, okay, all the thing that we are going to do here in this MOOC is an experience that, if you want, you can be part of a publication. And this kind of, activity to engage was very important in this MOOC. And I haven't got in that time anything because I haven't got much money, sorry, or this kind of things. But it was very important for me because the teachers that they did this course create for us the activities for this year. So they were some kind of co-workers or co-editors of education experience.
So, Melina, what were, I remember that you said that about 1,300 teachers joined the course. How many actually finished it and completed the whole course?
Yes, we have a very good person of engagement, because we have 70% of the teachers and educators and technicians finish this course, and then they always ask us if they want to share the experience, or if we are going to create the part 2, or indeed many of them replicate this course in this community. That's why here I put something, for example, in the University of Entre Rios, that is a province, they replies all this experience, or in the La Plata University, all of them are public and they duplicate this case. The only deal is I have to be part, we have to be part, and I don't know, be someone helpful for them if they have any questions.
Okay, so let me sum up what I gathered from what you said, and I think then we can try to map a few things or think together about a few of the points that arise from your experience, from both your experiences. Mm-hmm. So, in terms of audience, you were really focused on teachers who already have training and let's say it's easy for them to work with technology, which is a point that is important and we have to I think, discuss later. The length was 8 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, right.
And you were using gamification. I think it's very interesting that you based it on a weekly mission or a weekly task that they had to go through, which is amazing. And you used the Moodle platform, which is not really engaging, but it's not as engaging as it could be. But that's what you used. At least it's open source, so that's one good point for that platform. And I think in terms of results, this is one of the most amazing results I've ever heard of for MOOCs. It's a well-known fact that MOOCs don't have a good retention of people. So many people can sign up to the course, but very, very few, very small numbers in terms of percentage actually graduate and do it. So obviously you did something well. So what I want for us to do now is basically we talked about 5 different sections. We talked about platform, about audience, about what it is that we actually want to teach, and we talked about what length it should be, and then about results, or at least the outcomes that we want to reach. So how about if we go one by one? We have like 5 points to map this and discuss the different audiences, the different lengths. Does that make sense to you?
Sorry, can you repeat this?
Yes, I said that from what you and Sara described, I could map at least 5 points that we need to discuss, I think. The first was, what is our audience? Thanks, Flora. What is our target audience?
Okay, our audience in general.
Yes. What is it that we actually want to teach?
Yeah.
What's the length of the course that we're? What is the I don't know, the ideal time length for such a course? What platform should we use? And what we would consider good results. I mean, it's good to know what you want to. On the one hand, what it is that you want to teach, but also what it is that you want to achieve. So these are the 5 points that I mapped from what you two talked about. But let's think if there's another point, let's raise it now, and then we can go one by one and discuss each of these points, and it might help us get a better idea of what it is that we actually want to build.
Perfect.
So my first question is there anything that I missed or any other aspect of the MOOC that you think we haven't covered in these 5 points? Did everyone hear me?
I have to answer. I think the first about what is our audience, I think this kind of teachers who are motivated, it's the first step, I think. If we have a good practice in education, it's very probably that they are going to be Wiki ambassador in a very short period. I have a thing. I was thinking. I cannot engage our volunteers, our Wikipedians, editors with a long experience, because I don't know. Here, the thing is, you come here to experiment, to have an experience that the main point is, I don't know, it's a laboratory. So you are part of this, and you can, I don't know, play different rules.
So Melina, that's a really excellent point that you're making. I think, if I understand you correctly, and that's a 6th point that we have to consider. That's who's running it, who are actually the people who make sure that the tasks are being uploaded and run and checked, and who's giving answers to people. So who's running the course? That's another point that we need to discuss. Okay, okay. So anyone else has points that are missing from our Paola, Sara? Have we missed anything? Flora?
No, I think it's complete. If we can answer those questions, we're done.
Then the work just begins, you mean? Okay, so let's talk about audience. Melina mentioned teachers, and I think teachers are certainly a good group to target, but one of the things that at least we will be, you also said, Melina, that you want to address the general public, and I think another audience would be simply students. So these are very different target audiences. So what do you think of it? Can they have the same thing? Do we need something different for each audience? How do you envision it? Guys? Okay.
If we prove the student, I think secondary students, or, you know, here we have the places that teachers study to be teachers.
Yes.
I think it's a very interesting goal, because this is going to be a teacher. So it's a very interesting profile.
So you're talking about institutions.
Yeah,
like training institutions. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you guys think? Can we have a course that basically applies to everyone, or do we need to have like separate things, or separate, how should I put it, training for different audiences?
Yeah, I think you have to prepare different courses for different people. You cannot offer the same course for everybody, because everybody has different interests. For example, if you are a teacher, you are thinking mostly how you are going to teach, or how you are going to use Wikipedia as a teaching tool. And if you are a student, maybe you are just curious about it, but you have other interests.
So you're making a very interesting point, I think, that connects to the second question that we that we raised, and that is what is it that we actually want to teach? And what you're saying is we don't necessarily want to teach teachers how to contribute to Wikipedia, but rather we want to focus on how they can use Wikipedia as a tool. And that's a completely different set of training compared to a training that focuses on contributing content or donating photos. Does everybody agree with this?
Yeah, it's very clear. I think I only, in my experience, this is the only public, but I'm very absolutely like Paola, agree with we have to do different education experience.
Mm-hmm. Sara, do you also agree?
Yes, I'm thinking about how we did this in the MOOC I was involved in, which was, you know, depending on who you were in education. Okay, they're all teachers, but they have different, you know, teaching different ages, different subjects. So everyone sort of decided for themselves what they wanted to get out of the course. I mean, that's one way of doing it. So if you can allow for some kind of flexibility, as in what, for example, in a Wikipedia context, it would be what kinds of articles, what kinds of topics will you sort of focus on. So there's some kind of flexibility for that. But then you will have, so that's more difficult to scale. So, you know, the big MOOCs are successful because they can scale, and if it's flexible and people can do different things, it's probably not so easy to scale things, maybe.
Why? Can you elaborate on that? Why do you think that it might interfere?
Maybe not interfere. It's just that if you're interested in retention rates or completion rates, if people do very different things, you can't just say so everyone completed the things they wanted to do, but it will look differently. So how can we sort of set a standard to know that kind of thing, or you know, to measure things? It's tricky, but it's very much part of what I did. So it would be called something like a connectivist type of MOOC rather than the XMOOC type, where it's all everyone does the same thing. You go through the same lessons and the same steps at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there are different models for this, maybe.
So you're saying that the flexibility that we want to allow basically for different audiences or different subjects or ages or age of students might mean that it's less scalable.
Or it could be, I think. But I mean, it also depends, again, on one of our questions, who's running the MOOC. I mean, you will have to have more facilitators if we allow for more flexibility. Mm-hmm. If we allow for a range of different kinds of assignments or, you know, types of instructions, you will need more facilitation, perhaps.
Uh-huh.
So that's, you know, if we have lots of facilitators, then that could be one way to allow for scale, maybe.
Okay.
Or say maybe it's a good idea to start small. I mean, even though it's a MOOC and it's open and it's for everyone, we can still sort of have a more narrow audience and say, well, this is sort of mainly for this kind of person, but anyone can join in and see what happens. I don't know. It's open.
Yes, it is open. One of the things that I've seen, I mean, I'm thinking about what you're talking about now, about flexibility, and I've actually seen a MOOC that gives this type of flexibility by the person can choose where to go next if he wants to focus on 1 or 2 or 3 options, and depending on what they choose, they get different content. So that's, I think, basically is the same as creating 3 different MOOCs or 4 different MOOCs. only inside it's, it's getting more intricate. So
Yeah.
it is possible to build something like that, unless we decide that it makes sense to create basically different types of MOOCs for different types of things.
One thing I like about MOOCs is when they can have diversity. I mean, it's part of the whole thing is to, for different kinds of people to kind of meet and different interests sort of can collaborate with each other. I mean, that's a really interesting way to learn and, develop your kind of collaborative skills together with a diverse kind of audience. So there is lots to be learned from that kind of learning experience.
For sure.
Sorry, that's why we use this technique of gamification. At the end of the week, they have two activities very different. One very, low level, and the other intermediate level of difficulty. So I think if you put this, all the teachers, students, or the people who did this course always want to do the intermediate high level difficulty. And I think give two options, or the option indeed, is something that is very important in our case. So I think in this case, gamification has many to teach us in this way.
Yes, definitely. And I think every educator these days, at least, is aware of how gamification is changing the rules, sort of. But I think we have to think about where we draw the line. 2 options, 3 options, 4 options. It can go on and on and on. I mean, our movement is so complex and so diverse that it can be endless unless we somehow define it and make sure. Paola has to go. Sorry, Paola. Yes, you can see us, the rest of it recorded, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I have to leave now.
Okay. So where do you see, how would we define it? I mean, we need to draw the line somewhere. Maybe Flora, you can shed some light on, or share your thoughts about this.
Sure. Drawing the line is always hard.
Yes.
So I would actually maybe flip it around and ask to start with the goals. Where did we say the goals? What do we consider good results? So if you reason backwards, once you've defined the goal and defined what it is that you want to teach, then you can then drill down to what form it should take, and so sort of limiting that, because we started talking about options, and you can create multiple pathways for different people, and that's all great, but let's see, what is the end result that we're trying to get to? What are we trying to educate people about? What does success look like? And once we've defined that, I think the other conversations will fall in place more logically, if that makes sense.
It does. That was basically the next question. We have to delve into what it is that we want to teach. So Melina's experience, I think, was, Melina, can you tell us, you said that you focused on very simple tasks. You mentioned donating a picture to WikiCommons. So I think it's important to say that we don't want to only teach about Wikipedia, though Wikipedia is the most common, the most well-known project of all the sister projects. But we might want to educate people about Wikidata, which is completely changing the picture, especially in terms of research. And we might want to expose them to WikiQuote or Wiktionary. I mean, there are so many versatile ways to collaborate with us. So let's talk about what it is that we want to teach.
Shani, can I say something?
Sure.
I agree we should talk about what we want to teach, but maybe even one step before that is, what is your goal? So so Melina now just posts in the chat that one of the goals is to convert Wikimedia into something friendly. So is that what we're hoping to achieve, to make the Wikimedia environment more friendly to newcomers, or to provide a friendly introduction to newcomers? Or are you hoping to add new editors, or just focus on contributions? So I think if you take one more step back, talk about the goals first, and then you can talk about like what to teach. If that makes sense.
It does. So what do you think we should teach people?
Okay, in my case, sorry, but I think not much people know about Wikimedia and all the projects. This is something that I was, oh my God. And I think to convert Wikimedia and all the projects like Wikidata, Dictionary, something friendly and useful was a very big point, because we enemy is the social network. For example, all the teachers or the students want to be there, not to contribute in internet in a useful form, or to create knowledge, but yes, to consume that. I think it's something very deeply. In my case, I think the first 2 weeks was very important, that people know the importance of the free culture, then know all about Wikimedia, and third, in my case, I have to customize Wikimedia in my way, because if it's not, if haven't got any means in my diary life, digital diary life, it's probably that I don't going to keep moving on Wikimedia. I don't know if it's something clear, but I think one of the point and goal is match your needs and and practices on the digital life, and to be more important and to belong to Wikimedia in the way that you can do it and be better. So when you match these, people, I don't know, I think the engagement is very important. And then it's very important that, I don't know, in my experience, we have teachers that they don't want to have any error or, something bad. And Wikimedia is very strong in some ways. Isn't it very friendly if it's your first step? So the first thing is, I'm very agree, like with Shani, with digital literacy. Match something that they say here, digital diet. What is your digital diet? What you consume and how you can be better in that consume.
Mm-hmm. Sara, do you have, I agree completely. Sara, do you have anything to add?
I think all of these ideas are really great. A better understanding of the Wikimedia projects it's really nice, and also to say, what would success look like? It would look like someone who knows how to contribute to a Wikimedia project. So learning about something by doing something is what I would like to see. So, like the example with Wikimedia Commons, you know, how to upload, how to share it, is a way to learn about something and better understand it.
So yeah, the only thing Flora just added in the chat box, that success, quoting Sara, that success is someone who knows how to contribute to our projects, and I would say even before contributing, knowing how to use our projects properly. So maybe there's a stage even before actually contributing, which is even knowing what it is that we offer, because not many people even know how Wikipedia works and what it offers and all that. So how to use Wikimedia projects properly is definitely it. And then, of course, how to contribute.
Yeah, Shani, and I think that's a good point that you're making now, because if you think about building a MOOC, if the goal is to have people understand digital, or to get better at digital literacy, and to understand how our projects work, that's a very different objective than having, you know, the basics of this is how you edit or this is how you upload photos. So that's why I think this is a good conversation to have first. And of course, you can combine both, but I don't know generally how big MOOCs are, but you know, there is always the risk that we can go too big. So by defining scope and, you know, what's out of scope, maybe we can keep it within limits, because I know, you know, we all want to do everything pretty much, but we shouldn't try to do it in one MOOC, I think.
Okay, so that's a valid opinion, I guess. I can tell you one thing from my experience. I would never ever teach people how to edit before I tell them about what is Wikipedia and how it works. I think there's something. I think the complex thing about, and we've talked a lot about retention, and the fact that people, although they learn how to, we all did workshops and we teach people how to edit, and they don't necessarily stay. And there are many reasons to why that happens, but I think one of it is not the complexity of actually editing, but the complexity of how the movement or how the community runs. And I think that if we, first of all, make them more familiar with a tool that they're already using, because everybody uses Wikipedia, but they use it in a very limited way, then that's a first step for me. So I would definitely think of it as like steps in getting to know us. Or I don't think that someone can contribute well if they don't understand even how to use it properly. What do you say?
I totally agree with that. Of course, you need to go and start with how do the projects work and how do you use them. But then the question is, do you take the next step to explaining them how to edit or not? And I know if you think about the global scale, for some countries, having a basic understanding of what Wikipedia is and knowing about digital literacy can be a huge first step that they can take. So maybe it may be too much for them to add on editing as well. And then there are other countries that are more, let's say, digitally inclined already, that may be ready for that next step of knowing how to edit and learning how to edit, and of course understanding about our environment, because it's a fun and specific environment that you need to understand before you delve in.
Exactly, and I think what Melina said about teaching through games is a key point of an kind of, if basically what we just described is two pillars, if you will. The one is to teach how it is that everything works and how to use it properly, and the second is how to actually contribute to it. Then in between you can do all kinds of like a middle ground, that you can do all sorts of cool and easy to use games to make it to as a preparatory step towards actually teaching them how to edit, etc. So maybe we can do that. Melina, you just send a link.
Yeah, last month we made a hackathon,
Yes.
and the big theme was how to use the data, open data, and how to be a critical user of Wikipedia. Not to be a writer, just to be a reader. So it was very interesting in Spanish, sorry, but this, if you check the link, was very interesting. For example, the hack dash we made with this kind of, with the teachers, this experience, this open platform. The hackathon has only 3 hours. During that time, they embed in the digital Wikipedia culture. So, for example, we read about the references or how it made an article. And it was very interesting because most of us teachers didn't know anything about this. They only Google a word and, oh, hello, this is Wikipedia. They don't know how it's the architecture and of all the rules. And I think this was, for us, was very interesting. But I think then I'm very, very sure, and I agree with Flora. The second point is, what you know this, so now be brave with Wikipedia, because only the experience is the way to resolve and to be engaged.
So I'm basically interested in what you think about Flora just offered. If Flora, if I understand correctly, you recommend to basically separate these two steps and like making a separate MOOC for using Wikipedia and its sister projects basically, and that's one thing. And the second is actually how to contribute to Wikipedia and its sister project, which is a different thing.
I'm not necessarily suggesting you separate it, but I encourage you to think about those as a two-step process, and wanting to see if you think one step is enough or if you want both steps, especially since we are here with this great global group. And I'm assuming what we're discussing is supposedly going to help people globally. So then it's interesting to think from the global perspective as well and think about differences between countries. But I am definitely not set on one thing or the other. I just want to make sure to sort of encourage your thinking on that.
So let's hear what people think about it. Sara, Melina?
Yeah, sure. I think in a point we have many links or similar problems. So I think the global perspective is very is a key. So I agree with that.
Melina, we kind of lost you.
Hello?
Oh, yes. Now you're back. Can you repeat what you said?
No, I think we have the same problem in a way. So I think I'm very agree with Flora in this way. We have to put 2 or 3 common goals and keep moving on them. I think the problems are the same. Maybe the conditions are not. I think this is the difference. We have another condition, and it's very important.
So Flora is writing here that maybe the first step is an inventory of what is out there and then see if that meets the need of what we would like to achieve. Yes, we are also not into reinventing the wheel. That's the whole purpose of, of this talk, I think. Yes, we can definitely explore other options, and we have some links to look into. I personally think that it would be good to have one MOOC with, yes, basically steps, and the first part should be familiarizing the audience with the various projects and how to use it correctly and critically, and the second would be going one step further and trying to contribute. So that's my personal thought, but we can definitely take a look at what others have done. I know that Pete Forsyth had some kind of MOOC experience, and he focused on basically contributing to Wikipedia specifically and trying to get the articles to be featured articles. I'm not sure how it went, but I posted the links, so you can all take a look. And Flora, you mentioned another person that had done another MOOC. Do you want to say something about that?
Yes, during Wikimania, what year were we talking? 2014 in London.
Yes.
We had an education pre-conference, and I remember Charles Matthews presenting a Moodle. It's been a while, so I don't recall whether that was about editing specifically, but we can definitely reach out to him and see what that was about, and if that's still live, and if we can take a look at what's out there already.
Yes.
And I do remember that being a Moodle, because that was also discussed as as a platform.
Yes. And I can say from our end of the world that we've also developed a course that is on Moodle for teachers. It's not exactly a MOOC, but it's an online course. Not massive one, but it is online. It is for teachers to train teachers of how to use Wikipedia. We've done it on Moodle, so it's week by week kind of thing. And we did begin by explaining how Wikipedia works, and then going to how to contribute to it and how to use it as a teaching tool, which is something that was already mentioned before. So this was our way of doing this, and this is still running now. So we have a bunch of teachers as part of, and this is basically in K-12 teachers. So from more or less teachers who teach pupils from secondary school to high school in specific areas, and yeah, we focused the MOOC for their specific knowledge base. So in this case, we focused on specific subjects. Of course, we created 3 types for 3 different subjects, but it was all the same. I mean, the idea of what they went through was the same. So I don't know if that's helpful at all, but this is what we did so far. Okay, so I think we've identified at least two points of things that we want to make sure that are the goals, right? To teach people how to use it, and to teach people how to contribute, and to generally teach them about the open knowledge, open data, open source movement, and as Melina said, to do it in a fun way. Anything else that we are missing as a goal?
I think it's very clear, Shani. Thank you a lot.
Okay. So, Flora, would you agree that now is a good time to discuss maybe what it is that we want to teach? Or
Yes, and you should feel free to totally ignore me, Shani, and just go ahead with with
No,
what
no,
you
no.
want to talk about.
No. I mean, it's a combined effort, and we definitely agree that we need to have the goals. The reason for asking it is, do we need to first of all finalize the goals in order to go on, or because we haven't gotten to any specific results?
No, I think this is great, and I'm seeing that Sara also needs to leave, and I'm having an eye on the time, seeing that we have, I think, 15 minutes left. So
Yes.
maybe, I know this conversation is not done yet, but maybe we should jump quickly to identifying next steps.
Yes, that's a good idea. So I'm quite open to your suggestions.
Well, I would suggest that what I can do is connect you with Charles and see what he has done. And I'm thinking, would it make sense to start adding all of these links that we've shared now about existing MOOCs in one place? Maybe would one of you want to start a Google Doc or something, or maybe even the wiki page that Anna mentioned? Would that be?
Yeah, the wiki page that Anna mentioned is a good place.
Probably the best place.
So what would you suggest the next step should be? Because we haven't discussed, we're far from discussing all the points that we mentioned.
I would say if everybody can think about MOOCs that they know that happen to exist out there, and we add them in one central place, and then everybody does a little homework to check what is there and whether that makes sense based on the goals that we have identified in this call. And then maybe we could schedule a follow-up call for the new year to see sort of what the role of this group can be given what we now know is out there, or what we jointly have found to be out there. Does that make sense, Shani? You're muted, Shani.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. I'm saying it's something that we all need to decide. So I'm very keen on hearing about Sara and Melina's thoughts.
No, I'm impressed. I'm very happy. So I think Flora was very clear, and you too, Shani, with this the next step. So I was reading this point that made this person, and I think it's very interesting to reach to have this time to I don't know, maybe we can share 3 points to watch this experience that exists in the world. For example, why it's interesting, how can be scalable, or how can be Wikimedia rules, and I don't know, 3 points that if we are going to research, make this deep research that is very important, we can have clear where to go or what we want to know about these initiatives.
Cool. So if to summarize what we've just discussed, I think the next step would be to put the links and put maybe the 6 or 7 points that we mentioned throughout this this talk on outreach, and then just do some homework, and we can put things on Wiki, our thoughts about specific audience or platforms or specific lengths, and discuss it further in the next call, as Flora suggested. Does that make sense to you, Melina?
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent. So I think on that optimistic note, thank you for joining the call, and we'll continue, and in the emails, I think, and on outreach, and we can schedule the next call for January sometime.
Thank you, Shani, for setting this up and making it happen. That's also a big first step. I'm really happy that we took that first step, and I'm sure there will be more good stuff coming out of this. So thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shani. You are great.
Thank you all, and have a good night.
Good
Bye.
night.
Bye-bye.